Yeah, I've certainly found that, and I've worked in software sales for 30 years, and I've still purchased the wrong software over the years, and found that it's not. And just recently, I've just come out of a contract I signed for 12 months. It came out after 6 months because it's not doing what I needed to do, and I've gone elsewhere for what we need in the business. So, yeah, it is finding a software that can offer you, and asking the question, now, do you mean configuration or customization? Because configuration and customization, Russell will know this, two very different things. So working with a software as a service provider, they like to configure because then they can roll it out across their entire platform of customers. And that's typically what we mean by, so we do configurations, and every sprint will be configuring and slightly changing things, and everyone benefits from that. Customizations, and if I looked at what Reho use, and I looked next to another customer, they all have individual things that no one else has because it's unique to their business. So there is a big difference between configuration, and if someone's doing configuration and they're charging you for it, I'd be asking them, well, are you going to give me exclusivity on that configuration for at least 12 to 18 months? Because if I'm funding your software and your development, I want exclusivity. Versus customization, which Bianca knows, that's just for her and Reho, because Reho study have a particular need on that piece of information. Versus configuration, where everyone benefits. Software company goes, great, get the money in the bank, and then off they go and roll it out to everyone else whilst you've paid for it, which that's happened to me over the years as well when I've been buying stuff. So I'd always recommend you look out for that and ask that question to the salesperson, who is unlikely not going to know. Yeah. So they'll have to go and ask someone else. But yeah, if they're good at their job, they should know the difference between the two. Yeah. Is that a good segue? I mean, I was just going to ask, before Jeff goes into showing some stuff for the kind of the final half hour, is around that, I call them sizzle moments, which is probably not the right word given Jeff's comment earlier about burning your house down, but I call them that. Well, maybe that's the aha moments in terms of having used us now for a couple of years and you're going through all the customizations with us. What are the things that you or your team have said, this is a game changer, or I can't imagine going back doing it this way, or this has saved me time, or I sleep better at night and I've got less stress now because I'm doing it. Are there 3 or 4 things that you can think of that, so then Jeff can show that and show some of the benefits that you've seen over the last couple of years?
Absolutely. I actually found this to be quite a challenging question, because my standard nature is to be like, okay, I want to achieve this. Okay, great, we've achieved this now. Next thing, without kind of sitting back to appreciate what I've managed to roll out or what we've managed to now present in the team. So I actually had to go to the team today and get their feedback on it. And one of the more interesting things was that I didn't think would necessarily be a thing was the fact that we look more professional now without even trying, just how professional we look without even trying. And we always felt like we had quite a professional presence, but it required so much effort for us to get there. Whereas this, we just consistently get compliments on and we are white labeled, so what our platform looks like, what we are presenting to our client. Every single meeting that we have with a client where we're presenting the software, they are just enamored by the look and the feel of it and the presentation and the user experience. So that, I think, I can't actually imagine now like giving a spreadsheet itinerary to one of my clients it's because there's so much capability in the look and the feel of this.
I think that's you mentioned white label as well, and that's something to mention to the group, is that I can't white label HubSpot or Salesforce or any of those big techs out there that we use internally. It's just not possible. But we allow our customers to white label the front end, which is the traveler side, the traveler themselves or the student themselves, what they're seeing, which is what Jeff's showing you on screen in terms of the itinerary, the overview, the highlights, the tasks, the payments. Everything is all branded to that business. But we've also just enabled our customers to white label the back end, the office side as well, the admin side of the platform. So everything is just Reho study tools. It has no mention of YouLi on it.
Just on that point, the white labeling of the back end, or what we call the planner side of the coin that is YouLi. It's not applicable to a lot of our customers. It's not important. But in terms of the education space where we do have a majority of our clients, YouLi is a good collaboration platform in that you can share both the traveller and the planner side with key contacts outside your organisation, namely school administrators and teachers. Now, because we allow that, and we sometimes allow you can do it for free, or you can pay for it and have a specially customised role, but essentially what it means is a lot of our clients in the education space have their clients logging into the planner side of the system. So to complete that 100% professional look, so when Bianca's university lecturers log into a trip that they're going on, they're not logging into YouLi, they're logging into Reho. And that's huge. I mean, there's not many software platforms out there that will sort of let you do that. But yeah, so that's the background on white labeling the planner side, as well as the the client side of the platform.
That's a good point. Yeah, particularly we do find that with the student clients is the amount of, or the education sector is the amount of external people that need to collaborate on the trip versus just a regular travel business. We find that a lot, and we have the same challenge within faith-based travel. So we have a lot of faith-based travel businesses as well, and they're the same because they want the church leader or the church warden or someone else to be part of it. So we work with Compassion here and overseas, actually, a big group, not-for-profit, and they do exactly the same. They platform white label the back end because they have so many external people collaborating on their trip. Did you want us to show a little bit, Jeff? Because we've talked a lot. So
yeah.
Come
on, Mr. Salesman. Come on. Everyone else has got to work.
Pressure.
on.
So like I said, YouLi's a bit different to most software in that it does two big things. So, Russell, the best way to think of us is at the sort of level that Bianca's operating and a lot of our larger clients, I like to position YouLi as we are your complete front office. So we manage every touch point with the client. So that is, we provide the itinerary, we provide all the payment methods, and we take all the payments. We aren't a gateway in our own right. We don't touch the money. We just facilitate whatever payment method you prefer, credit card, direct debit, Wise, PayPal, you name it. So itineraries, payments, but the real differentiator that we have brought to this space is tasks and documentation. So we manage all those four things, and what we do is we wrap them all up together in one place, and we present that to the traveller in what we call a trip page. Some of our clients call it a trip portal, customer portal, whatever you want to call it. But so we wrap that all up in a trip page that is provided. That's obviously web-based, so it's always up to date. And that's what I'm sharing now. So obviously, for our larger clients, this would be under your domain. So it would be trips.reho study tours, etc. And so essentially the traveller here, so this is Jeff, this is me, looks like I'm going to Petra, lucky me. So I've already registered for this trip. I know where I'm going, how long it is. Geez, it was only $500, so I must have been lucky there. So in my trip page, I have everything. So I've got an overview of the trip with a nice little video here. I can look at my highlights of the trip. So we break down a trip into highlights and a detailed itinerary. So the highlights is all the sexy stuff you want people to look at. I can select optional items. And those optional items can be included, or they can have a cost associated with them, and that'll be added to my invoice. You can see here I've already decided to do Petra by night and a hot air balloon ride. I can go to the detailed itinerary, which is as interesting as a detailed itinerary would look. I can also see details on my fellow travellers. This is something that we turn on and off. You can turn on and off. Obviously, it's not appropriate for school-based travel, but for some groups, people like to be able to share their mini bio so people can sort of know a bit about each other before they travel. I can see my full payment history, so I know what package I've selected. I can see what payments I've made, what add-ons I've done, and obviously the terms and conditions of what I've signed up for. And then I get to my to-do list. And like I said, this is a big part of makes Bianca and her team's life a lot easier. So I have 3 of 8 tasks remaining to be done. And so we find that rather than overwhelm people upon registration, where, they ask you for everything, including your inside leg measurement. So people don't have that at hand at the time.
You're used
so
to dealing with school
abandon
groups.
their cart and they never come back. So our philosophy is get them in with their name and their email address, get them registered. And then over that pre-trip journey time, that's when you collect all their information over time, and obviously their payments as well, because we're not all running charities here. So here I can see the tasks that I have done and the ones that I'm yet to do. And there's a lot of flexibility here in terms of you can design your own custom forms. You can get people to type their name in as a digital signature, which stands up in court these days. So there's no need to download, sign it and upload it and all that malarkey. We've created our own passport form, which, even I can complete. So that's our to-do list, and that's a great way to organize your travelers. And then linked to that is documentation. So here I can see that on this trip, I was given a t-shirt size chart and a waiver form. And then these are the documents I've uploaded. Now, this trip page also comes in the mobile app for free. It's all part of the software. So, when I'm in Petra and they won't let me in because they want to see my COVID international vaccination form, I can just open up the app, bang, there you go, mate. There's my COVID vaccination form. So
it's worth noting, Jeff, that to do that as well, because it works offline. So it's not loading all the time. So you can do it offline or online and get those forms.
Yes.
Still.
Thank you for telling me how to do my job, Sally. That's wonderful.
You're welcome.
Lucky we're 100 miles apart tonight. Anyway, so, and then next, my contacts who I can get in touch with, and that can be the organizer of the trip. And like we said earlier, it could be the teacher or teachers who are going on the trip. A good thing about YouLi is, and it's a bit of a double-edged sword, is that we allow you, the operator, to empower. I like to say we allow you to empower your client to be involved in the day-to-day management of the trip, chasing up the chooks, herding the cats, that kind of thing, which works really well because, clients like to have that visibility. You can control that and you can whatever. And it also takes workload off your team. I think, Bianca, initially, just not long after you launched, you said that the amount of stupid emails and phone calls you were getting from your university students dropped by 90%. I think you called it noise.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of noise.
Because they were better informed. Anyway, so that is what we call the trip page. It's just everything all in one place. And then if we flip to the other side of the coin, which let me just.
While you're doing that, Jeff, I'm just going to ask you, Bianca, because that was around the UI and the look and the feel. Now, and your team felt it gave a much more professional look, but it was easily achieved as opposed to the lengthy time it was taking you with Excel sheets and spreadsheets and everything else to make it. So, So what were some of the other things? Because you and I were talking earlier about some of the other things that were there, aha moments. I'll use it, not sizzle.
Yes. Online payments. The ease of online payments is incredible. The fact that, so as a company, we basically take everything by credit card, which for us, and being able to facilitate that through YouLi, we can easily set the merchant fees. We can set parameters. We can just make it there and available and ready to go, and we don't have to consistently follow it up. We can set reminders, we can set payment schedules, and automated reminders go out. So we're not consistently, oh, is this person paid? Has this person paid? What's going on over here? Because when you're dealing with even 20 people in a group and there's 3 separate payments that they might want to make, trying to follow them up consistently is an absolute nightmare. It's so time consuming. And one of the things that was just released, but I don't know about how everyone else works, but in order to confirm your place on one of our trips, you have to pay a deposit in conjunction with your registration.
Yep.
And I can do that through this. So it mandates that they get a beautiful registration form. I can customize it. I can collect all the data that I want, and they just pay. And then the money's in my account, and then I can pay suppliers, and then
you can pay me.
Sorry, who are you again?
The ease has just been, we're not consistently following up on bank transfers that were never actually paid. We're not having to run back and forth to the credit card terminal. We're not having to manually enter credit card details into Tramada. We're not. It's actually been quite incredible, and we only use a small portion of it, so we only use credit card. But
it wouldn't stop someone doing bank transfers to it, though.
No. So
based on that,
we don't necessarily allow it through the main registration process, but that's a personal business preference. But you could give them the opportunity to do that, if credit card payment or bank transfer.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not actually sure what all the other ones are, but I know that there's
over the phone, ACH.
Everything. Payments. So
no, credit card or bank transfer is good enough for me, and the rest of it's like, no, it's too much work.
It's so easily tracked, which you can see straight away if someone's paid. Which, say accounting is lagging a little bit. They haven't reconciled the receipts for half a day. You're chasing a payment, the bank transfer didn't hit when it was supposed to hit. Whatever it might be, someone switched a digit in the bank transfer. I don't know. It just used to be an absolute nightmare. So just to be able to know that just ticks along. And of course, you still have some students up, but 90% of our students are now paying on time because they're getting those automated reminders. We don't have to follow them up. It's just easy.
And you're sending invoices out of YouLi as well, right? So you're using YouLi for that. Yeah. So because we can then, Bianca doesn't do this, but we can also then push out and integrate into things like Xero and QuickBooks Online, which a lot of our customers do as well to automate. They're not having to double entry things, but that's not what Reho does, because they have a different system that they use, and they've just chosen to keep it separate. But there's all those options as well.
So it can be integrated with Xero?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Good.
what I'm showing. Can you see that on the screen?
I can, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. So we haven't actually integrated with any accounting software as yet. That will be, it's not a priority in my journey yet. There's a lot of complications when you consider how you do things in travel. We've got a corporate arm to our business. We've got a leisure arm to our business.
Yeah.
So we have to consider those things as well. And we're just sort of stuck with what we've got right now. But because we can report so well out of YouLi, it minimizes what we need to do in other spaces for the time being. So it's a workaround for the right now, but it's a relatively efficient workaround, which doesn't often happen.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, so that one specifically has been really good. What else am I?
Having everything in one place you were mentioning to me earlier. Yeah.
So I feel like actually, Russell, you would probably resonate with this. Is okay. So I need everyone participating in the trip to complete something. So let's do a BCC and get 100 email responses, and then follow up the people that haven't done it, and then let's follow this one up by email, but then let's tick these ones off in Excel and do that.
God, there's 2 days work.
Exactly right. Whereas this, like it's just there. The fact that it's just all there, I can go to one spot for the majority of the things that I need to know. So have they completed their tasks? Have they made their payment? Have they completed their register? Like, have they done all this? And it's there.
Yep.
Yeah. So that in itself has been an incredible time saver. I mean, obviously, you know, students are never 100% great.
We had that conversation yesterday. YouLi isn't a magic wand for making students do their tasks.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. But Bianca and I came up with a little bit of an incentive for them yesterday to get them to do their tasks, and in the form of almost like a social media thing with the likes and the ticks and the gold stars, so they rank the highest in terms of having achieved that. So that's something that we came up with yesterday. So I think
that does work.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
Is that something you do, Russell?
No, I've done that in the past. Just to shame the poor ones that don't do the work. Peer pressure, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Can I ask a quick question? So Sally, you said earlier, you know, you're not a supplier management tool, like that's not your, you know, focus and so forth. But so I'm just interested to see how that sort of product side of things gets in there in terms of them building those itineraries so that you know how you're managing your tours as well. So all 100 journeys and so forth that you've got, Bianca, going out. Like how have you found that product management side of things, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, great question.
I feel like there's probably two parts to this one. So when we're building out the itinerary, there's obviously certain information in that only the user, the traveller needs to know. And then there's other pieces that are more beneficial for us, the planner, if we can see them in that same space. Because we don't it's not an accounting tool in the sense that we're making supplier payments or doing any of that inside of YouLi, there's not a huge need for us to, I suppose, list the suppliers or apply suppliers to certain itinerary components in that kind of standard form. I've only started exploring that because Tramada is such a nightmare, and I need an easier way to, because we don't always work. Obviously, you know. So for me, I'm looking for a very top level face value. These are the suppliers that we need to pay for this program, and have we actually paid them? We're not paying through YouLi or doing anything like that. And then for us, because there are so many components to our trips, it's more of a visual that anyone in my team can look into anyone else's program and go, okay, this day tour is booked with this particular supplier. So being able to integrate those smaller details into the itinerary components that cannot be seen by the traveller.
We've just done that for you, haven't we?
Yeah.
We just.
That's like a little mini back of house type of. But it is a supplier type management, but it's back of house and.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a full on. I would never go out there and say you use a management system, but we have done that for Bianca because it was needed in terms of building out and getting that, and we had to do that. So it's not something. Stage one of that for Bianca was actually putting all the suppliers into YouLi, so she has that list so they can see the costs associated.
Perfect.
And we've had to do that for her at this stage because we don't have the functionality for the user, for Bianca just to go and add and take away suppliers. The next phase of development is to enable Bianca to be able to do that herself. So at the moment we're having to do that for her, but that's something we're happy to do. Longer term development would be that we can enable Bianca to self-manage that. So that's where we're not. I'm always really careful, Russell, when we're talking to customers on are we not a supplier management, because I don't like misleading people.
No, I mean it's I mean, I know in Bianca's case she's looking after 120 odd programs a year. You know, there are places you're going to where you're probably using the same supplier in those destinations. So the back of house supplier management system doesn't need to be that big.
No.
Yeah. You're constantly using the same people all the time.
So say that screen that you're on there then, Jeff.
Yeah. So
that's kind of an overview screen, but I guess my question is managing the 20 days of what's within that package. Are you still doing that outside of YouLi then? So in terms of the line items of what's included on that tour,
No.
You can say,
Yeah. Okay. So another piece of customization that Reho have had done is that, because one of the things that we found that was not working for us is where we can create 76 different packages, they all still have one singular cost.
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And didn't have a huge amount, like there were ways, but didn't have a huge amount of flexibility to easily just say, apply an extra night of accommodation or a date change fee or something like that to the individual traveller.
Yeah.
And if we did, we had to sort of bulk it into the package cost. So it was complicated to itemize. And then that sort of led to different issues. If you had to change the package cost or something like that, we weren't able to retain true financial data. If we and every single one of our students always does something different. Every single one of our students will change the date of their flight. Every single one of our students will add on a bit to this, bit to that.
Which sorry to break your flow there, Bianca, just to explain. So whilst you build a group itinerary in YouLi with group each pricing and to-do list, the thing with YouLi that makes it also unique is that down to the individual or even a subgroup, you can change the itinerary, you can change the pricing, and you can even change the tasks. So you can have, there is FIT, for want of a better term, there is FIT flexibility within the group setting. The way that the team has built YouLi means it's easy for us to accommodate FIT within the group setting, whereas a lot of our semi-competitors who are built first to do FIT, now trying to do groups, you can't put a square peg into a round hole.
No.
We actually.
But if I had a standard itinerary that was leaving Sydney, going to Europe, coming back to Sydney, that itinerary box there I'm looking at basically does that work.
Correct.
Yeah, it is. Look, when I do sell, Russell, I feel it's just as important to say what we don't do as what we do. Yeah. Our itinerary builder is manual. So, and I'll make no bones about that.
Welcome to our world.
Exactly. So you build each of your itinerary items.
Yes.
Look, it takes 2 seconds, right? You cut and paste and you're done.
Yeah. But you would have a supplier part to that where you're just, if you're going to Rome or you're just pulling in the hotel that you've constantly used, the coach company you're just pushing across, I would imagine, without seeing it.
That's the goal. That's where we're
not at that stage yet, Russell.
No.
But that's where we want to integrate with those supplier platforms, because we don't want to build it ourselves because there's too many of them out there. But we're happy to pull that data in from somewhere. And then the other thing we do offer at
Jeff,
is templates. So you can templatize things as well.
Jeff, Bianca's just going to jump in and talk about what's being done for her.
Sorry.
To ask one thing. So when you're referring to Russell, are you talking about, so I know in Tramada, for example, if we're putting in an itinerary sector, I can put in the name of coach company and then automatically populate with their phone number, their address, their contact.
Yeah, that's just that basic information.
Yeah, so that's where I thought you. So basically where we are, what YouLi have created for me now is in each individual line item, itinerary item, I can add the supplier name.
Yep.
And then we will get to a point, second or third round of development, where we can, because at this point in time, it was more important for us to know who, as opposing, because we can easily find the contact information where, but figuring out who was what was causing us issues. So we do that, and then we will add the supplier data. I think we haven't necessarily fleshed it out yet, because at the moment the fields will be there, but put the information manually. But I would assume that the goal would eventually be, well, once
that's okay. yeah, the front of it looks really good. And as I say, if the lines are there, you're in a manual sense, you're either doing it in a Word doc or you're doing it in an Excel. What we're doing differently here is we're actually just loading into YouLi.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, I'm on track. It would be nice to have that supplier bit at the end, but anyway, like, yeah,
You get
that's years to come.
Russell. She's gonna
Hey,
get
look, no, but I like what I'm seeing.
So I think that's a good point as well in terms of the way we do product development. There's a couple of ways we do that, but mostly it's driven by customer as
Yes.
well. So we do develop. So we have, because we've got a really broad mix of clients. We've got, right at the bottom end, we've got paying a subscription of, $40 or $50 a month versus, the larger businesses like Reho that are paying significant dollars with lots of zeros for what they're getting.
Yeah, but you probably that payment's probably for the number of users as well.
We subscription fee when we don't pay per user.
Okay, good.
I think that's where we have a limited, we have a certain number of users that we can get up.
Yes.
So it's not limited users, but I think that's one of the benefits that I found with YouLi. So Events Air, for example, I was paying one fee regardless of how much of it I needed or didn't need.
Correct.
Where I was really able to customize my contract. What I needed and pay for what I needed.
Yes.
Yeah. But there's a whole list of things you could have, but we only charge for the pieces that they're actually using. If that makes sense. So there's no point I could charge a whole heap of extra money for whether it's white labeling or whether it's analyst roles or all the other things that we do, but there's no point because Bianca wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
So we just don't charge for it, which is a different way.
And we don't clip the ticket. We don't clip the ticket.
Not with that. No, we don't charge. Reho and businesses that size don't pay a platform booking fee to us because that's not what we do. So
no,
and we're not unless
it's a nice service that you provide.
Yeah, and we're not the merchant of record, so we're gateway agnostic. So we're not like a few on the market that will say you have to use our gateway.
We travel.
No.
You're a bad cold there, Jeff.
Yeah, I know.
There are lots but look, there's different business models. There's certain businesses that they actually fall into fintech, they don't fall into travel management software, and that's the distinction because they're all about payment gateway and payments going through their gateway, whether it's for suppliers, customers, and that's the business model, and it's transactional and it's banking. And I came from that background, so that's how they operate. So it's a very different model. We've purposely designed the plan so that what I was going to say was even down the smaller end, we have we encourage people through our Facebook group to put forward suggestions of what they would like to see. And if we're getting 10, 20, 30 people saying the same thing, we're like, okay, well, the next product roadmap meeting, look, we've had 30 people say this. Let's have a look at what it's going to take us to develop that, to roll that out for everyone. And that's how we do it. And what we do then is put release notes on the website. And we'll actually thank and name the customers that have suggested it. And we've done that with Bianca before as well. Because
Bianca's high on the list.
We wouldn't know otherwise, if they didn't tell us. But on the other side, with Bianca, it's about we have regular sit downs and consultations to go, what do you need next? What's missing? Do you really need that? Can we push that out? When do we do this? When do you need that? Yeah. So but everyone has a say, and and we do like most businesses. We just have a 12-month roadmap, and we prioritize through our sprints what we need to push out. We can't do everything, but we try and make sure that the biggest priorities are delivered each sprint. I think,
I think that's it's one of the things that, to me, the technology that I'm using is a massive investment. If I can invest, and I almost look at it like I would take a person's wage and invest that in my tech, because by doing that, I'm now saving myself probably 2 or 3 people's wage if I can get the tech to where I need it to be. It should be creating that much efficiency in my business. Yes, I don't just need people. So I've really approached it from an investment perspective, and it's not just about the tech and what I'm seeing and what the client sees, but the people behind it, where I've got an entire community available to me to you know. And I think I'll come back to one of the other points before is I've always done things the way that I've done them, and it's a little bit of PTSD in the sense of, well, I've had to do that. Like I've had my back up against a wall and I've had to do things a certain way in order to achieve an outcome. And quite often I'll sit here and Jen or any of the team will just work through, like, here's your end goal. We can actually get there this many ways. So let's not necessarily, okay, we don't even need to charge you for this, because what we've discovered is in this time that we've been speaking, there's a bunch of other different ways that you can get there. You don't have to just do what you were doing simply because that's how you've always done it. We can actually offer you better options. So it's not even every time I have an idea that I actually need to pay for a bit of customization or change my contract. It's an actual discussion about what the capabilities are, what my end goal is, and how is it best for everybody that we get there, which is doesn't often, is not, it's very rare.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's the broader travel industry probably wouldn't jump on it, but if you got players who constantly doing groups like we do, there's a group of people that could say, well, how do we make our life easier? More importantly, how do we make our staff's life easier? And how do we communicate to our customer?
Yeah, because there's a very fine line between keeping obviously we're all in the business of keeping our customers happy, but often comes at the detriment of your team's mental health.
Correct.
Because when you pride yourself in giving a high level of service, there is, and you don't have the technology to support that, there is such a high expectation on your team to perform and continue to perform, and such little I guess room for, there's so much, there's just, it's not efficient. It's
a lot of people like to over promise and under deliver.
Yes, they do.
And the sales guys on the road are sorry, Jeff. The sales guys on the road are out there to get the sales in, and they blame head office for not producing.
Yeah,
They blame the product. Yeah.
I learned very on in my software sales career not to sell vaporware. It's a recipe for disaster. And like everything I demo is real, and that's the thing I say to people is when you're talking to other people and they tell you they can do something, ask them to show you.
Yes.
Not a PowerPoint
true.
slide of what it looks like, but actually show you in a trip, in the software. I want to see it happen.
Yep.
Yes. Be very specific with what you're.
And then I want to be able to break it.
Yes.
To prove them that it doesn't work.
Yeah. I've tried many a time, Russell. It's my favorite. It's my favorite way to test things. It's just literally try and break it.
Yeah, I love breaking it because I know then that what I've got and the people around me who have to, the end users know that they've got something that they could work with.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that's what's important, because I want people to go home at night going, I've actually achieved something, instead of going, oh my God, I'm going to hate coming back tomorrow.
Yeah. No one wants that feeling.
No.
Jeff, did you want to, have you got something on the screen you wanted to show, or just going to ask Rebecca as well, because I mean,
sorry, Rebecca.
Talking, Rebecca, make sure Rebecca's okay, and she's.
Well, she's in Wellington.
Still alive.
Probably been blown away by now.
Back since then.
No, I've just been thinking from here. I'm like, why? Okay, there must be a catch. So no offense, Jeff, you're in sales, but I'm so confused because a lot of my clients do groups, and this looks amazing from the point of view. Obviously, I don't run a travel company, but if I was a traveller or I was the parent of a traveller, which I probably will be, or my kids will travel with the schools, but just from a point of a group travel or a student travel, this looks amazing and enjoyable and exciting. But from the point of view of risk management that I see my clients go through, this seems like a way to make sure so much doesn't slip through the cracks. I'm so confused why not everyone's using you. So what's the catch?
There is no catch, but the more people we get in front of, like you know, joining SETO and Cato, the more people that know about us, use us. And I love my job because people in travel are people. They're lovely to deal with. They're very upfront. And, you know, we've got over 7,000 planners on the platform. Now, I don't know all of them now. I did from the early days because I sold to them all. But we have no dickheads. You know, we have no horrible customers. We had one in Japan, and we showed him the door. And, you know, and that's because, you know, we only sell what we have. You know, we don't make promises that we can't fulfill. And I think, Bianca, you could speak to that. We've never missed a development deadline for you.
No,
And we're always very honest about what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
To answer Becca's question as well in terms of what's the catch, I think it's we've chosen a particular path in terms of whether that's not rushing and hiring 20 or 30 salespeople to be on the phone cold calling and just pushing a sale, and then for customers to discover it's not right for them. Could have gone down that route. We could have done that. It's not what we chose to do. But there are a lot of people, Rebecca, that will come to us, and we realise very quickly that we're not suited for them because they may be looking for just an itinerary builder and that's it. And if that's the case,
or they do day tours.
Or they do day
Yeah,
tours.
that's not what this software is about.
No, so they come to us and I'll say, look, if you really, you know, go and look at Travelify if you want to just do itineraries. Now, we actually can embed Travelify itinerary into the software as well. But if they just want itineraries, happy to recommend, and we know the guys at Travelify, happy to recommend that's what they use. If they're not looking for all the functionality and they just need a more simple software, you know, they're not comfortable, they'd rather not pay a monthly fee and they'd rather pay a higher booking platform fee because they're running on cash flow and it's cash in, cash out, and they've got to rely on the bookings first. We'll send them to companies that can do just that for them, or just need a basic payment gateway. So I think it's it's not for everyone. And as Jeff is very honest with customers, and I think we've both worked in sales a long time, and the best word you can ever say in a sales conversation is the word no to someone, that we just can't do it, or we're not right for you. If you're looking for these 10 things and we don't do 8 of them, then we're definitely not the right piece of software. Yeah. But can we build some of it? Yes, but it depends.
Yeah, I would also say that everyone I've ever spoken to in group travel knows they should be doing things better, right?
Yeah, totally understand.
That's a given, right? And I talk to people because everyone's in that position.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the next, people are afraid of change, right? I mean, as bad as disparate systems and PDFs and emails and spreadsheets are, it's a known quantity.
Well, it's what you trust.
It's what you trust. Thank you, Russell. Whereas when I show people YouLi, they are wowed and they think it's amazing, but there is a resistance to change. And secondly, you know, there's 2 ways to improve your business. You cut your costs and you increase your sales.
Correct.
Now, I firmly believe that YouLi does both because, as Bianca said, they look far more professional, which means they win more business. You know, I mean, if Bianca's team is presenting to a university and someone else rocks up with a PDF printed out at their home on their inkjet computer, I know who they're going to buy their trip from. So we do the sales piece. But most of our benefit is in the scaling and the automation in the back end. Now, the problem is when I'm trying to sell that to a business owner, they don't always get it. They just say, well, it's going to cost me an extra 20 grand a year for your software. And I'm like, yes, but your 3 employees are going to be 10 times more productive. But they don't see that. They're in this old mindset of, oh, it's 20 grand a year. And I'm like, you can't even hire a receptionist for that. And I'm going to make all your employees 10 times more productive.
Well, without being disrespectful to the owners, it's they don't necessarily work at the coalface.
No.
Oh, yes, Russell, thank you. And that would be my third point, is that quite often the decision maker I'm talking to isn't the poor bastard on the floor managing the
working
spreadsheets.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I worked I worked a lead for 3 years because I had a personal interest in what they do. They did cricket tours. And in the end, the operations manager and the general manager both left the business because the owners wouldn't buy my product. And the operations manager went to the Rainbow Games. And guess what Rainbow Games is running on? It's running on YouLi.
Yeah.
So
It's very
there is a
difficult.
big disconnect between the decision maker and the person in operations. And so what I have to do is I have to make sure I have to get operations on side. I have to get the decision maker, the owner on side. And then thirdly, the last barrier is I have to get the IT people on side, because IT people don't like SaaS because it's outside their prerogative. They don't have control over it. And
That's
so,
that's with IT people. That's the biggest problem with them, is the control factor.
Yes. Yeah.
And they didn't come up with it.
Yes. And they're worried it's going to make them redundant.
Yes.
So there's a lot of reasons why people don't buy. And one of the things we do, the smart business owners we talk to, when you give them a price tag, particularly if they've got a heap of stuff they need to add to it, they just go, yep, I get that. I'm just going to put a tech tax onto the trip, add extra $2 onto each of the people that are on the trip, covered my costs. Now, the smart ones get that straight away. It's the ones that don't. So quite often we end up helping them put a business case together for them to their senior management team to help them pitch that because they desperately, the user, the people at the coalface, desperately want it, have no idea how to put a business case towards their CEO or CFO, whoever it is. But a lot of the time, I spend my time working with them to put together a business case to help the poor bugger sell it up the line, because the CFO or CEO doesn't want to talk to me. That's fine. So I'll just put the business case together for them. But it is a challenge, and it's sad because you see all these poor people pulling their hair out and working God knows how many days a week and how many hours to do stuff. They could do it a different way, but it's a slow. But change is, and like Bianca was saying as you were talking, Jeff, it's complicated as well when you're in group travel, and it's not a simple thing just to come off an Excel sheet or whatever, and it's not simple to do. And we do a lot of data migration for people because
we do a lot of onboarding and we do a lot of training. So we don't just throw the software over the fence and say good luck.
We have to do the data migration from one system to another. We have to help them import all the data, because you can't leave a customer on their own to do it, because they would never get it right. So and they've got
the reality. Yeah, the reality is with group tours, you've got so much more exposure of so many things that can go wrong and slip through the cracks and get missed. And when you multiply that by the exposure, it's huge. And what you seem to be offering is a way to double check that without having to double check it manually.
Exactly.
And actually have staff that aren't burnt out and exhausted and quitting and wanting to go somewhere else when there's no qualified staff around. It seems like a no-brainer to me.